welcome. I have got Anne Marie Kingston with us today from White Sage Decluttering, and I met Anne Marie only about a year ago, and even though it feels like I've known you for ages and ages, and what I was impressed with was Anne Marie's ability to inspire others, and especially me. Whenever I come in contact with you, I feel fully inspired and full of action. And I would love if you, as part of the introduction, Anne Marie, introduced yourself and shared with us. You don't have to share your secret unless you want to, but shared with us where all that energy comes from and how you're so full of action, and how maybe you found the calling of decluttering, and we'll speak more on that.
Perfect. So now, first of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. And so I suppose, how did I get into decluttering, I suppose, first of all? And it's probably, again, it's like you mentioned there, with my energy and everything like that. Like, when I go into clients' homes, decluttering with my hands on decluttering sessions or virtual sessions, they're always saying, Anne Marie, if I had half your energy, and it's obviously in my genes, but I'm a go-getter. I kind of get on, it's just kind of, I kind of push through, move on, and kind of keep going. And I'm all about, again, like, I suppose, being a businesswoman, I'm always saying try stuff. And I'm always saying, like, even like, in our circle, I'm always saying, get it out of your system. If you feel you have a calling, just do it. So I suppose that was my calling. I've been decluttering for I'm 42. And so I've been decluttering for like the last 30 plus years. Again, for me, I suppose my personal journey, my parents would have gone through cancer when I was very small. So as a result, my dad would have gone through, his leg was amputated. I was only 2 years of age. And I suppose as a very, very young age, still can't recall when or an age kind of that I can actually pinpoint. So for me, I suppose I took on the household duties at a very young age because my mum would have taken on the family farm. I was an only child, and I just got stuck in. And I suppose it's probably my way of dealing with life. I always kind of kept busy. I'm not kind of a person for kind of sitting down and watching TV kind of thing. Like, I'm always kind of a go-getter, kind of getting stuff done, because I love seeing transformations. And it all started for me in our hot press at home. So I basically would pull, and it's your basic hot press, like probably 8 shelves. You go in the door, shelves right to left. That's it. Your smallest area of the home. And from there, I would take literally everything out, and I would literally go. And decluttering back then, like in the 80s, wasn't even heard of it. Like, that was the thing. It was like, it was kind of, I suppose that's the thing. I mean, I'll talk more about that later. But, there was a big thing like, spring cleaning and tidying. Tidying, decluttering are totally different. So like for me, I was going through, like, I was handling everything. I was checking condition. I was checking, was there holes in the vests? Were there holes in the pajamas? Why were the collars worn? And again, we've all come from from a society. I don't know, we're going back to famine times, we're going back to war times. But, we kept everything. You were told to mind that, hold on to that, like, that'll be handy sometime. And that's kind of where we live in a total different society. Back then there was different quality compared to the quality now. And for me then, so I suppose, it's when I kind of look back and when I'm asked to do like the podcasts and talks and interviews, and different things kind of come to me. So like I would have worked in the Bank of Ireland in different institutions, and I was always asked, like, to declutter the safe, clear it out, because again there was retention periods, paperwork and all that. So that was done. So every place of work I went to, I was always asked to do that. And it's only now the penny has dropped, and I'm like, oh my God, I was doing it all the time. And not to me. Colleagues then would say to me, God, your house must be so organized. And I was like, what are they on about? Couldn't understand it. And it's only, as I said, like, as I go on in my business, and I'm like, oh, this is where it's coming from. So I suppose fast forward to, I would have left the bank, took voluntary redundancy in 2012. Then I found I was pregnant, I think the month after. And you know what? It was a great opportunity for me, I suppose. And this is what we're all trying to do in it, is find that balance. We're all on about that life, kind of family, house balance and work balance. And you know, it's like, it's different for everyone, but you know, sometimes it does exist and sometimes it's absolutely off the wall and everything is going wrong, you know, but look, we're all human at the end of it. So we'll take a redundancy, and fast forward then, Ryan was born in 2013, that was fine. And then I suppose Quiva then came in 2015, and she was only probably, oh God, I think she was about 6 or 7 months at the time. She was gone down for a nap. And like that, then I would have moved into my husband's farmhouse. So I would have converted John's old, my husband's bedroom, into a walk-in hot press. So, and it's my favorite room in the house, by the way. And it's the picture that I share on all my, it's on like my website and my Facebook page, on all of social media of me, and that's my hot press in the back. And from there, then the light bulb, you know, you see that, like that cartoon, and literally that light bulb goes bing, or that light bulb moment happened. And for me, then it was, oh my God. And I suppose I was thinking, look, Quiva was getting older. I was going to say, what am I going to do? Kind of thing. Like I suppose my love and grow had kind of gone from the bank, because the machines were in. I was trained the old fashioned way. We knew Mrs. Murphy, or we knew Annette Murphy. We knew, you know, your circumstances, whatever it may be, your kids, that was the way you knew. And it was West Cork, everyone knows each other. And that was gone. And we were kind of on targets then, like, to get people on machines and everything. And it was gone very salesy, and I was like, no. So that was, I suppose, that was a big decision for me to move forward. So then I was like, okay, really, I suppose I should go back. The kids are getting a bit older. And I wanted to find, I suppose for me, I wanted to find that balance. I wanted to find the balance that would have, I was able to be with the kids and still be out meeting people, doing what I love. And as I said, that light bulb moment went off. So I went off decluttering the hot press, because again, it was clothes I had to put away for Quiva, and I was kind of like, oh, I couldn't get around to it because you're that busy mom. You know, you're trying to do everything, juggle all those balls in the air. And then, as I said, that light bulb moment literally went off, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to become a professional declutterer. And off I went. I could still remember, I ran down here to my office. My desk actually was at a different, looking out the window. And I started Googling, and I was like, oh my God. And I even had a book. I had a little notebook and little names I was going to call my business. And, you know, and I was never, I suppose, look, I'm all about, you know, and I'm way more open to it since, you know, putting it out there. Whatever you put out kind of comes back to you, out to the universe. And I was like, oh my God. So it gets better. So that night, Quiva woke up for her, whatever, 3 or 4 o'clock battle, and I was fine. And like, again, you know, when you're a young mother, trying to keep awake, or even when I was like, because I nursed my 2 kids for 3 months, I would have breastfed them both, and you know, you're trying to keep awake, and I'd be here just kind of flicking through Facebook just to kind of keep the eyes open that I wouldn't nod off. And lo and behold, my professional decluttering course in Limerick came up, and I was like, holy smokes. I was like, okay, if this ain't the universe, I was like, oh my God. And, you know, I'm all about divine timing and it and everything like that. You know, and things definitely happen for a reason. And when you're aligned and everything like that. And I remember reading the next morning. Oh, I actually emailed her that night at some daft hour. Probably 5 o'clock, I would have emailed her, like, for more details. And I remember I was downtown the next morning. I was running into the post office for some reason, posting something. And I had a call below at the post office at 9 o'clock. I was like, I don't know, I think I'd love to do your course. She goes, oh my God. So I was explaining what I did, and she was like, oh Jesus, ideal client. So I signed up there, and then, and fast forward then, that was 2016, qualified then in March, or the end of February, start of March, I qualified as a professional declutterer. And you know what, only for me now, I suppose, having the course I did, I wouldn't have the business I have today, because, you know, like, there's reasons why clutter builds up. And I suppose I would have throw everything out. It's not that way. It's a process. And again, it's knowing the difference I mentioned earlier on, like here, you know, knowing the difference, like, of decluttering, cleaning, and spring cleaning. You know, everything's that, you know, I've had conversations like, Anne Marie, you'll be so thrilled with me. I've washed the bed frame, I've everything hoovered, I've everything dusted. And I was like, okay, how many black bags have gone out? None. That's taken. And it's like, and you know, because that's the thing, you see, I go into homes, and It's the clutter is gathering. There's nothing going out, and that's where people get it wrong. It's knowing that, okay, what haven't you used in the last 12 to 18 months?
Yeah,
it's ready to go. And then, you know, something comes in, I'd always say, let something out. You have to balance it.
That's actually one of my questions I wanted to ask you about in a little while. Before we get there, and there's so much I want to dive in, you know, but one of the things, and you just covered that as well, and so I just want to share about that the origin of the next question is coming from. So I found the Konmarie style of decluttering in 2017, and I know we've spoken about that. My children were 7 and 4 at the time, and I found it completely overwhelming. And if anybody knows Marie Kondo, she wrote her first book before she ever had children, and you know this as well.
Yeah.
And it was just so full on for me, you know. And this is why I just clicked when I met you last year. I was like, this is exactly the woman that every busy parent needs, you know. And I know that Marie Kondo has since, I saw it on social media, has since shared that it's a whole different story when you have children, because exactly what you have said, you know, I've always loved organizing as well and creating systems. And however, with children, things change so much, different toys, right? And clothes, every season a new wardrobe. So I can't believe you mentioned the whole war or maybe the famine and all this passed down patterning of how we organize and tidy, declutter. And I have noticed in myself, I have this just in case mentality, you know. Yeah. I'm going to keep all these old bed sheets just in case we ever paint the house, you know.
I know.
So,
yeah.
So with all this just in case stuff, you know, what I'm also and I think it's interesting that everybody kind of, and you probably help with that, gets to know themselves of what style of organizer they are and how they are in general. So I'm someone who takes in all the details, you know. When I walk through my home, I just see everything, you know. And I don't only pick up on energy of people, but also things. And we can talk about the white sage element in a minute. So I was wondering, what have you noticed, you know, or what's your opinion when you're decluttering? And as a result, maybe parents, very busy parents, have a bit more time and energy, you know, when for them and for their children. Have you got it?
That's a good question. And again, like, you know, the thing is, right, when you're surrounded by clutter on a daily basis, and we know ourselves, like as businesswomen, when we come in I want to show you my desk, because I'm in middle of turmoil here at the moment. I'm doing fierce letting go and shredding. But, you know, when we're surrounded by clutter on a daily basis, it's affecting our productivity, our mood, our concentration, the relationships in the home. So it's very important, again, and we need to utilize our time better. You know, and I remember speaking to a coach of mine years ago, and I was like, she was like, okay, what are clients telling you? And I was like, they're chained to the kitchen sink. And she goes, are they actually chained to the kitchen sink, like physically? More emotionally, they were, because they were continuously at housework. They were continuously tidying and cleaning. And then that's where I suppose a lot of parents reach out to me. And I have clients from the age of 26 up to their 80s, you know, and I've a fierce spend, because, you know, every house is different. There's different dynamics in the house, like, you know, and again, clutter happens for different reasons. Mm-hmm. Just going off your question just slightly, like, just give your listeners kind of more indication on it, but like, clutter happens for different reasons. It could be a busy man trying to keep all those bloody balls in the air. Mm-hmm. There could be sickness in the house. There could have been tragedy. There could have been a death. There could have been divorce, separation. There could be a house move. So you could be empty nesters. You could be downsizing. You know, I've had clients who have moved county, who changed job, got married, had a baby all in kind of one time, and never had time to like kind of saying, holy, well, jolly crap, what's happened there? You know, they'd no time, and they've opened up to me about that, I suppose, that they hadn't time to like take it all in or reflect, or even had time to even process the whole thing. And again, that's going back down into like, and as a result of the clutter, you know, and it's like all of us, you know, on a Friday evening, we might open a bottle of wine or have a glass of wine or have a chocolate, you know, a chocolate bar, whatever. You know, we want to get the rush of happy hormones into the body. And that's what we do with those endorphins are released into the body. And it's like, woo, okay, that sound feels good. For some people, that's paying going online. That's going shopping, hand you over their credit card and saying, you know, or hand you over cash at the counter and say, and they're like, oh. And I had a client who said that to me recently. She goes, I love shopping, but the minute I come outside that door, I absolutely regret it. It's funny, and there's such, you know, mindset to clutter, and the way, and there is stigma to it, because, you know, we're all human, but I'm always, I suppose, the way I speak to my clients is, you know, we've all thrown curveballs into our court. Some people, things might go very smooth, while where I see with my work is I could go in and it could be busy, a busy mother, and then she'd open up to me, and I suppose that's why my service is non-judgmental and confidential. But, you know, they open up and they're like, Anne Marie, I lost my baby at 37 weeks, or, you know, I had a breakdown of a family member we haven't spoken to in years, or something else happened. And it's like, what? I'd come away from clients and I have to pull in the side of the road and say, okay, whoo. And I have to ground myself, and I've shared tears with them because they have gone through so much, you know. And again, it's going back to, you know, when you do, like, and the very most important thing with when you go decluttering, you have to be ready to let go. You can't force it. You know, it's like, okay, I'm going to tackle the playroom, but I'd always say get family members involved. You know, get them involved, because it's not, I see it a lot, and they were like, oh, it's, you know, my husband is giving out to me that I've taken up all the wardrobes in the house or whatever. And then when you go in, the husband could have, like, you know, he could have books from national school, and he could be in his 60s, you know. We all contribute to the clutter. It's not just the woman of the house. We are all responsible. So it's very important, again, like, you know, to utilize your time better. And the only way to utilize your time better and to get in control is to declutter. To go back to your first question, you have to declutter first. There's no reverse psychology on it. Once you declutter, then you realize, okay, you know what? I have plenty of clothes in the wardrobe for the kids or for myself. And you have to be able to see everything. You've got to cut down in time, money, and energy as well, Annette, because, you know, I have come across it a lot. Clients reach out to me and they're like, say, I'd love to work with you. And they would share with me, they're like, you know what? I can't find a certain top or dress, but I'll buy 2 or 3 of them. But they won't take the other ones back until I come, and they're like, okay, I'm getting money back. You know, there's a lot of emotional buying. There's mistake buys. We've all done it. We're human. But it's really, you know, another thing is you need to, and I suppose and this is a tip for your listeners, is we all of us, we all need to utilize our storage better. Because what happens is, you know, we rush out. When I see people buying storage boxes in November, I'm literally like, I'm nearly throwing my whole body across the car park, and I was like, stop, no more. What do you want them for? You know, they're grand for putting away this Christmas decorations, but what, like, as someone said to me, what about the boxes they came out of? No, unless the other boxes are broken, fair enough. But, you know, what do we need all the storage for? Like, the more storage we have, the more stuff we're going to put in there. And that's where that's going to take up your time. That's where you're going to basically have no time to spend with your kids, your husband, your family, your furry babies, whoever you want to spend your time with. You know, we need to utilize it correct. And we use the same things in it. The thing is, I remember saying during COVID, like, you know, we were all, okay, you know, we were very limited where we could go. We couldn't travel. A lot of shops, local shops, weren't online. And I know a lot of people went online afterwards or during it, but like, to survive. But, you know, we need to, we're creatures of habit. We use the same stuff all the time. You know, it's very easy because, and I always say, like, I remember I had a client there recently, and I have big crates, like the bread crates that you see, like the bread men bring in. I had 8 crates full of utensils from one client. And, you know, I'm always saying, you know, go to Mellows and Burns or go to any Dunn's or whatever shop you're into, and these utensils are going to change your culinary experience. They're probably not. You know, you're going to go back to the same spatula and the same wooden spoon and the same teaspoon. You know, we feel we have to have all these kind of little gimmicks and all these items, but they're only adding clutter to our existing house. But we need to, if we're not using them, just let them off and say, you know what, it actually doesn't work. It's actually the most useless thing I ever bought in my life. And be honest with yourself, because you have to be a small bit ruthless when it comes to decluttering as well.
And isn't that that's kind of a muscle, isn't it? That, and I'm going to come to that in the last question, that it's really a skill that you're developing, you know, and I can imagine that when people work with you, that you are a proper coach who teaches them to do that, you know, and that's back to the whole, let's say, doing the Konmarie method or whatever method, but not really knowing what's behind it. You're going to be bringing more clutter, you know, and my next question is probably more going into the energetics and what it does, and also you're covering so much already. I just would love this particular question and your perspective on it, you know. So, for example, and I don't know what the percentage is between men and women, and who needs that more with their busy life. But one element, you know, for, let's say, women becoming pregnant, or in general, you know, struggling with weight or whatever, and that's a whole different program. But what one thing was that came out of me, you know, for me was, I'd say a lot of us have clothes in a wardrobe stuffed somewhere that are not our size anymore, you know. And from all the different methods I've since kind of studied, because like you, I don't really watch TV, but you know what I do? I turn on YouTube with decluttering channels to entertain myself. I love this transformation of before and after, and the freedom that comes with that. So, and this one concept, and it's so simple, you know, to say those clothes don't fit me now. So why don't I take them from my wardrobe and give them to someone who might actually wear them, or a charity shop, you know, a homeless shelter, or, you know, and then that's a way of creating so much space. And I'm all about, you know, having a calm home, waking up in the morning, a calm room. And when I now open my wardrobe, and like you say, there aren't, oh, wow, stunning fashion, but the stuff that is in there, I enjoy it. And there's also space, and there's stuff where the clothes can breathe, you know. So my question is, that's one of my big things where I had my light bulb moment. And if I works for the clothes, I'm sure it also works for all the kitchen gadgets that I'm not using, you know. And so I would love to hear from, I only assume you work with parents and non-parents, and what has their experience been with letting go of some of the things that they don't really need or can live without, and what have they shared with you, you know? So maybe their light bulb moments or anything you want to share with us.
And again, like, you know, and like your questions, you know, it kind of covers a multitude, really. Like, you know, like, first of all, clutter, it's negative energy in your home. It's stagnant energy, you know. I always say, like, the energy should flow through a house. So it comes in the front door, it should be able to kind of like go, you know, twisting around, going around into the corners. My whole thing, and I suppose what I've spoken about for the last 6 years being a business, is, you know, being able to, simple things, right? Being able to, as I look around my office, being able to go into each 4 corners of your room, and of every room in your house, that you can map hoover, that there's not, you know, a pile of paperwork that kind of saying, okay, I'll do that sometime, or there's tax returns that you've never, you know, filed away properly, you know, systems for, or there's a load of clothes, you know, there's maybe, you know, there could be, I've gone into homes, like, for instance, I'll just take, for example, now, a bedroom that has just popped into my head. You know, inside in this bedroom I went into, there was a exercise machine, an exercise bike, there was an extra wardrobe, there was extra chairs. You know, the more we can clutter up rooms as well with furniture, that's another big thing. We need very, very little, again, like, but you know, you're going back to that stagnant, that negative energy. And I suppose only from doing my work, I never had the opportunity before, because I was in the banking sector, but you know, I never had that I suppose intuition to kind of tune into energy and everything. And I know, and I've been like, oh, I kind of get that vibe that that's really stagnant energy. And again, like you would have mentioned, like that's where my business then came from white sage, using white sage, smudge sticks. And what I have done, what I do with, and I don't do it for every home, and it's optional for clients, but I would go in and actually I'd cleanse it, I'd use white sage, and I'd actually smudge out the area. And it's so funny, and I do in my house on a regular basis, but I've got into homes and it's literally like fog, like we can barely see each other, and like the windows are open and everything like that, but it's just so stagnant. It's just, and you know, I've got into homes, there's no curtains open, the light bulb is blown, and then you go back the next day, and even like that shift in the client, you know, I've gone in and literally like, I've gone in, you know, and they're kind of like, they could be very weepy and I'm like, oh God, I'm like, I don't know, can I do this? And I was like, yes, we can do it. It's teamwork. As the client said to me, teamwork makes the dream work. And I love that. And, you know, and that's what it is. It's basically, you know, we work together as a team. It's a deep dive declutter, and we handle every single thing. You know, I don't tell any of my clients what to keep or throw out. They're in control. It's a process. I always, and you've probably heard me saying it so many times, I consider decluttering like an onion. I'd say I'll be buried with onions and sage. And it's literally like you're peeling that onion, you're peeling the layers away all the time, because it's continuous. Like even if I go into, say, for instance, Annette, I go to work with you, you're still decluttering. I have given you the tips, the tools, and like, and again, you go back to Marie Kondo. I'm not a fan of Marie Kondo. I've been considered West Cork's Marie Kondo delight for so long, and I have designed my own organizational systems that have worked for me, because I suppose it started for me again. I suppose going back again, another light bulb moment has just hit me. But my big thing was my island was when I was in the bank, I used to come home at lunch, and my island was a big island, and there was one press supposed to come in, and I'd shove everything into it, and then John would be like, Anne Marie, where is such and such? And I'd be like, oh, right. And that's I realized I had no systems for my paperwork. And that's where I think it all started coming. And I'm always kind of changing our systems here, because, you know, again, every house is different and you can overcomplicate things. I keep my approach is very simple and very practical approach to everything. Simple systems that work. Because I've gone into homes and they have a system to a point, and it's kind of working, but it just needs to be tweaked. You just need to turn the cog a small bit, and then it'll work. And then they're like, oh, great. But then because it's more, and as a result, tweak it or coming up with a new system. For that's a huge shift again. Like, you know, I've got into homes and they're like, Anne Marie, they can declutter every room in the house. But I remember one client, and there was one area and she couldn't, because it was to do with an old business that she was involved in. That business had then, you know, that had folded. She had different businesses, and she just couldn't energetically, that she was just so stuck and so overwhelmed, because and it was only a big, like two brown boxes of kind of paperwork, but she just felt, oh, she was just couldn't overcome it. And then together, yeah, and she goes, I mean, why couldn't I do that on my own? You know, and a lot of it is down to mindset. Yeah. Mindset, like we know, like the power of the mind is unreal, but we have to work on that. And I suppose, you know, clients say to me, no, because I take away the clutter, I support the charity shops locally here in West Cork, and in Clonakilty, in my own town, and Dublin, that's only 15 minutes from me. But you know, I'm always saying, you know, one man's rubbish is another man's treasure. That should be really a woman. It shouldn't be a man. You know, it's all about, you know, why are we holding on to all this stuff? And my big thing, actually, because I would have spoken on national radio about this, you know, we're all about, you know, if anything happened to us in the morning, and that came up for me in my studies. You know, I did 12-month intense decluttering studies, and I had to do up reports, and I had to do, you know, I had to look for free clients, just case studies, you know, to kind of see how I go about in different things, and how I'd approach, you know, clients differently, because everyone's setup at home is different, or they've gone through different obstacles in their life. And, you know, it's all about, you know, supporting one another, you know, getting the clutter out. And you see, like, that's another thing, again, like, you know, going back to your earlier question, you know, utilize your time better. You know, once the clutter is gone, straight away, you know, and I've seen it, even before I was taking away clutter, you know, clients, I come back the next day and they're standing up straighter, they're tall, or there's flowers on the table. You know, it's already that energy has lifted in the home. You know, and you're kind of going back again, like, and that could be another talk again, but you know, there is a feng shui element, because I am into feng shui as well, like that. So, you know, there is, and again, like, your home does represent your life.
Yeah.
You know, as they always saying, you know, cluttered mind, cluttered house. So, and again, it is so energetic, because I know when I declutter, and I've seen it for clients, I have found lost treasures. I found money for clients. I found, oh my God, that black dress that has been missing for the last 10 years. You know, when we find these, and I know myself when I declutter, every time I declutter, my manifesting juices start flowing crazy. There's new clients in, there's new opportunities, there's radio opportunities, there's TV opportunities, there's podcast opportunities, money's coming in, you know, different things. And that's what it is. It's opening up and releasing and letting go of the past, because, you know, you can't take it with you. And another thing is, you know, my big thorn is really, I suppose, you know, if anything happened to us, go back again, I'm kind of sidetracking, but you know, if anything happened to us, to any of us in the morning, Annette, who is going to have to go through our personal clutter? And that is like, you know, okay, say a loved one has passed on. For me, and I've seen it with clients, they're starting the grieving all over again.
Gotcha. It's all connected with the energy and the emotions.
And you're starting, and you know, people would say, oh God, I'm like, well, it's the right time to, you know, declutter Mam's stuff after she's passed away. I was like, whatever feels good for you. You know, some people live for a few years. I know I've had clients who still have left stuff in their impresses that their mother's passed away numerous years, decades, and it's still the way she left it, you know. And that's not good energy in a home either. You know, we need, and like, nobody wants us to kind of, you know, be having to deal with it. But I'm always saying, you know, we're very good to kind of get our affairs in order, our wills and everything like that. Decluttering should be part of that process. That say, you know what, like, and I would have spoken on Ryan Tubridy about it, you know, the Swedish death method, you know, again, like preparing yourself. And I was working with a client there lately, you know, who's in her 80s, prepping her house before she dies. Very, you know what, it's real, it's, you know, it's reality. And it is, and it's to face us at all sometimes. And, you know, age is nothing. Ages means nothing no more. You know, we really need to have our affairs in order and not leave our siblings and children come back and kind of have to start all this again and take up all the time. It should be really, you know, we're all responsible for clutter.
That is such an interesting new perspective that I hadn't even thought about before. You know, you're actually showing your love to your loved ones by saying, I'll take care of my own stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, it's very important, because, you know, I've seen it again, like family members have fallen out, you know, because they wanted to get this, or, you know, affairs weren't organized, and another thing I'm not against would be skips, because, okay, skips are fine for certain circumstances. But again, like, you're going back to, you know, I'm all about, look, we're all trying to do a bit for Mother Nature, sustainability, the planet, and for our kids and beyond. And I think now everything, it's so, you know, it's kind of like, you're going back to our parents' age again, you know, they would have bought antiques. I know I would have grown up with antiques. You know, you invested, you had the quality. Why now, I suppose the quality isn't there. It is and it isn't in certain things. But you know, but you know, we can upside. There's so much things you can do now, and there's, you know, you'd see different businesses popping up that are upcycling. You know, they do commission pieces, they paint pieces. You know, you can do so much. There's so much creativity out there now than before. You know, I remember there was someone, you know, they would have had a piece of furniture and it was an antique, and they wanted to keep it in the house, but it just didn't suit their a very new home. And I know everything kind of, you know, anything goes now, but you know, they upcycle it, and it was a part of their mother was in their home, and it was lovely to kind of have that memory, and, you know, like, it'll serve its purpose, and if it be passed on, so be it, and if it's not, it's not. But you know, we have to love everything in our home. We have to love our surroundings, and when we love our surroundings, that shifts the energy as well inside of us. Because I know when I was and I would have been decluttering all the time, like, you know, I was going to charity shop when I was a young one, you know, I was always using the charity bins and everything like that. And there's so many places that you can take stuff now, like, as you mentioned earlier on, like, there's homeless shelters, there's safe houses, there's so much out there, you know, and it's just, I suppose another thing is where people, I suppose, get caught is they go to the charity shop, they might meet Mary at the counter, and they might just, Mary could be on a off day and she might say, no thanks, we won't accept it. I know you've given all your energy to declutter, to get it out of the house, and then Mary won't accept it, and the bag comes back into the house, and you're like, what's sad that you're back in square one again.
Yes. And that's where your services are just so unique. I absolutely love it.
And I didn't always take it. That's the funny thing, that I didn't, when I started my decluttering business first, as part of our studies, and again, that was where we were taught, was that the client, when they're ready to let go, they'll take the clutter. Now, you've seen from my car, my 7-seater car, my poor clients will be at it for a long, long time. So I'm filling up my car. Sometimes it's only full by 11 o'clock because they've gathered, because I'm coming and I've been with them maybe the day before or whatever. I like gather away whenever it's going, they've gathered, and I take it away. So there's very little again that goes to dump or recycling. Like if it's a recycling fair, I'm gonna have a fair share of cardboard, polystyrene, plastic, things like that. Then there's going to be a few items like pillows that you can do nothing about, that are stained. They just have to be dumped, and you'll be like, oh my god. But like, there's only so much I can do. So I take away the clutter on behalf of my clients, both the charity shop and items that need to go to recycling, and it's done. And they don't have to go, like, they don't have to build up that energy against it. Oh God, okay, Anne Marie's coming bad, great, she's in place looking fab, but I now have to deal with this. And a client and a business friend said to me, she goes, and that's when I was doing half-day sessions and full-day sessions in it, back in 2018. And Claire said to me, I would have paid you anything to take my clutter. And I was like, what? And then I was like, really? So I kind of like, and I'm always even like, when clients, you know, when I ask for testimonials and reviews, I'm always kind of looking for feedback. How could I support? How could I do, like, I'm always developing my services.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
You know, so, and that's what, like, and I'm all about listening and, you know, how I can support my clients. And that's what I do, you know, by removing the clutter and taking it away. And their home is fully, as I said, fully decluttered with systems, and they're doing it on a more regular basis. They're not leaving it build up, you know, or not doing it at all. Like, they're doing it without, as I always say, like, they're flexing that decluttering muscle. They're not leaving it build up for like 6 months or 12 months and kind of saying, oh, here we are again. They're doing it, like, as I always say, like when you empty the dishwasher and you're emptying the clothes, the washing machine, you're doing it without even thinking about it.
That's it.
That's what I'm about too. I'm getting stuff out. We're quite minimal here, you know, but the stuff go out here. I have a bag out, a 30 or 50 litre bag, depending whatever size bag is in the cupboard. But that's going out every Friday in our house. You know, that's my system that I developed. So I was going to see what's happening. And I had to develop, and I was like, okay, I need to kind of tune into this. And that's what came to me, and it has worked amazing. Every client I worked with, they're like, Anne Marie, that is the best thing ever. And I was like, yeah. I good practice in myself. You know, I suppose I am what I am in the tin, like, you know, I'm doing it for myself, and then I can tweak it if I need to tweak it for my clients. And I'm tuning in, because every home is different. And it's just, you know, again, listening skills and understanding what the client needs.
Exactly.
Like, how will they maintain this clutter-free home that I'm guaranteeing them?
Oh my God. So there's so much that I think we need to do a part 2 to all this. And maybe I would also like, you know, if parents and non-parents who hear that, if they could leave us their comments, you know, how their cluttering has maybe impacted them in a positive way, or maybe even questions that they still have, you know. And there's so much that you just mentioned, but to bring this to a close, there's a few things I want to pick up on, you know, and one is to continuously do that, and how you fine tune your services, you know, and I mentioned this before, you work with parents and non-parents alike, I assume, you know, and what an unbelievable skill this is to pass on to our children, you know, because we live in this material world, and the marketing everywhere, especially for busy parents, where I don't know if you have that, but there can be a bit of guilt, and you end up buying your child all these things, and the expectations grow. And that's where I probably come in, how to rein that in a little bit. Still feel good about parent and knowing your child loves you. Also, when you say no in the toy shop, And what I wrote down is something you said a few minutes ago. We need very, very little. And that is so true, not only for us, but I realize for our children as well, and how they thrive when there is less, And
because they're overwhelmed as well, Annette. Like, we're overwhelmed as parents with the volume. Some days now, because, the utility, I'd always say the utility is that space that is just, you've a cleared, and then like, it's just that it's a work in progress room. All the stuff gets thrown in there, all the gear, the washing, everything. And it's like, oh my God. And I go in there and I'm like, how did it get like this? But like, kids are growing, we're all growing. Different activities kicked in, but less is more. And if we're overwhelmed, how is the child feeling? And again, that's affecting their overall well-being and their sleep as well.
I absolutely agree. And I think this might be a topic where we maybe fine-tune it more for parents and children, but I just want to maybe close off with this before I mention your social media and where clients can find you. So on your social media, you mentioned something, was it during the week? I follow you on LinkedIn, and you mentioned this whole, when there's too much stuff, we sometimes end up going out and renting more storage rooms, or it goes in the shed, And I couldn't believe how well the opposite works with parents, and children. So my own children, when we have this when we teach our children to say, this is the space we have in your room, particularly maybe in your wardrobe, and I don't have a box here now, but I did this with my son when he was maybe 5 or 6 years old. And we had this overwhelm of not only t-shirts, but with boys here in Ireland, there's so many jerseys, and then they go out. And so I just thought I might try it and say, look, this is the space we have. And please pick your 7 favorite t-shirts, and the rest we give to other boys who mightn't have as many or something, I couldn't believe how well this worked with my child and how he agreed to doing that, and he never missed any. And there's obviously options where you can have let's put it away for 6 months and then see. And we always had a rotation system with toys, where we had half in the attic, and then if they wanted to bring one down, one needed to go up, So I just find your service, every parent deserves to work with you, because I think you can really bring back, give back some time and energy to the parent. And what would you say to a parent who maybe thinks, the overwhelm of decluttering, or that they even need to embark on training in, self-training, or with your help, that decluttering muscle, if they maybe hesitate a little bit, as a final thought, And
I'd always say, look, I always work, I suppose, one of my questions that I do on the call with potential clients, I'd always say, are you ready to let go? Like, I only work with clients who are ready to let go. So I'd say 1 to 10. So 1 being not ready, 10 being ready. Some are 100, or they're 20 out of 10. You have to be ready to let go. And you see, I'm always on about, again, Annette and I could talk about this for hours, but it's teamwork. Like clients that turn around to me, they're like, "Are you do this?" And I was like, "Well, I couldn't do it without you." It's teamwork. And a lot of clients come back and they're like, "It's company, that there's someone there that they're like, they just need to talk it over their system to say, what? I bought that coat, I paid big money for it, and I never bloody wore it, but I'm ready to let go now." And we have to be ready to let go, because what happens is, and I've seen it, and there's been, women ring me over the years, and family would throw stuff into bags and just get rid of it without their knowing. That's not, that's where there's regret. You have to be ready to let go. And I always say, like, 12 to 18 months is my time frame. If you haven't used in the last 12 to 18 months, it's regarded as clutter. It's unwanted, it's unused and unloved. If you're not, and again, look, you're going to have options, like with the jerseys, if there's items that the kids or any of us want to keep, like do a memory box.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be anything, a simple storage box with a lid on it, just to keep our bits together. And it's again, like, you know, kids, you know, there's artwork coming from school, there are different bits, like, you know, drawings, Mom, this is for you, and beautiful, like, I love you, Mom. I like, they're the ones you want to hold on to,
Mm-hmm.
you know. It's deciding, okay, what's really precious to you, because at the end of the day, we can't take it to the next world. We need to just take action, because what happens, even I posted it this morning, I took a picture of the barley field next to us here, you know, and clutter starts off like a little seed, a small seed, and over time it grows up and it just takes over.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, and then, you know, that's where the overwhelm comes, that's where the frustration comes from, that's where, you know, the mood is flat, you're just very down in yourself because of your surroundings.
Mm-hmm.
But when you let go and free yourself of that, you're cutting that chain from the kitchen sink, or, you know, that's where it's liberating to see. You're like, oh my God, you know what? I'm not using it, and I'm all about spreading the love. You know, someone else is going to get use out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that with the, you know, this phrase in the decluttering community, that clutter attracts clutter. And we all know that principle, you know, before you're going somewhere, let's say we're going away now for the weekend, and it's like, oh, we're going away anyway, I might as well just create more of a mess. And that doesn't work really. So,
and when you come back as well, Annette, you see, like, you know, the suitcase will be there for 2 or 3 months afterwards.
Yes,
and
exactly.
You know, it's taking action, and that's what it's about. I suppose I'm all about, you know, helping women to take action and start decluttering, because once you start to see, people we know how to tidy. We've never been taught how to declutter.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
And I just in this world, you know, where there's and I feel it's changing, but where we're coming away from this, I need to buy this to be happy, I need to get this to feel fulfilled, that it is really a skill that we can pass on with our children who are faced with this world where, you know, more and more and more isn't really bringing it back. So if hopefully somebody, you know, who sees our video would love to reach out to you, and I highly recommend signing up to your newsletter, because whenever I read your newsletter, I feel like this is me, she really gets me, you know. Where at the moment, where can...
So at the moment, where I usually hang out is on Facebook at White Sage Decluttering, and a bit in Instagram, but mainly on Facebook. That's where I usually hang out.
Okay, Instagram, Facebook, you're on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
And that newsletter, we're gonna put that link.
Yeah, to sign up.
Thank you so much. I just there's so much to talk about and taking notes, and maybe we can. There will be ideas maybe for a part 2. So thank you so much, Anne Marie.
Thank you, Annette.